It's that time of the year, folks. The Record Store Day Black Friday 2024 list just hit the internet. I looked at it. As always, I like to make a video after I look at it, sharing my thoughts on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And of course, as with every list, there's all three. On first perusal of this list, I would say it is not exceptional, but it's also not terrible. There's a few gems on there, but there's also a few very questionable things, and I'm going to share all of those with you in this video. Please do me a favor after you watch this, leave a comment with any of your thoughts on the list, anything you're excited about, or anything you think is kind of ridiculous that's on there, because that's always fun to read about too. If you're new to the vinyl hobby, Record Store Day is something that happens twice a year, in April and on Black Friday, and there's a special list that comes out, and every year people are excited to see what is on the list. Is there going to be some kind of rare out-of-print thing getting a repress for the first time, something just going to vinyl for the first time, a cool variant of an album you love? There's endless possibilities, and it usually doesn't quite live up to expectation in the sense of there's always a feeling like they could have done something different, could have done something more. Why is this getting released instead of this? And I don't know, it's never a home run. But this year, I feel like the initial thought might be, oh, this isn't a great list. I'm here to tell you there are some kind of cool things on the list, but again, we'll talk about all the elements of the spectrum. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do so. Click the bell so you don't miss out on any videos I put out. Now, without further ado, let's get started with RSD. Oh wait, one more disclaimer. Do not feel pressured to purchase everything on Record Store Day from the list that you're interested in, because a lot of the time, these will be available for much cheaper if you wait. I hate to say that because I think on RSD you should go support your local record store as a store owner. I think that's extremely important. But I would say don't jump to buy stuff, especially at a markup online on the first day or two. Historically, most things, not all things, there's always one or two things that slip through the cracks and become rare, but most things end up being MSRP or lower if you wait a week or two. So take pause. Take note on the list if things are RSD firsts, because that means that they're going to get another pressing down the road. So don't feel the need to like, oh, I missed it at my local store, I need to spend a bunch of money online. Just take a breath, give it a chance. You'll probably be able to get it for a good price if you just hold off a little bit. All right, let's talk about the good. There are some absolute bangers on this good list, things that have been demanding represses for a long time that are finally getting them. And that's the spirit of RSD to me. That's the kind of thing that RSD needs to be focusing on. Less so the ridiculous endless picture discs and 3-inch records. More so these albums that just need represses. The first of which is Better Than Ezra Deluxe. This is maybe the best Better Than Ezra record, incredible alt-rock album, and the only other pressing of it goes for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like crazy, crazy money. Finally getting a repress. I'm really excited to pick this one up. We had one at the store a long time ago. I did sell it because the price was just too crazy to not, and I was like, I hope this gets a repress one day because I do love this album, and thankfully, my patience paid off. So really excited about this one. This is probably one of the bigger ones on the list. And then we have Billie Eilish, Hit Me Hard and Soft, the Isolated Vocals Edition. At first I thought this was just an acapella album, which I thought was gonna be underwhelming, but it sounds like it's just a reimagining, done with a softer touch where you're gonna get kind of more of the vocal forward element and not so much of the, orchestral instrumentation. This is a really solid record from Billie, and I'm excited to hear this reimagined version because her vocals are the star of the show on the record, in my opinion. So I think this is a pretty cool release. Illenium, Awake. I am not personally an EDM fan. There's very little EDM that speaks to me, but I know that Illenium is beloved within the EDM community, and Awake is an album that people have been asking for represses forever, with prices of the first press going for $300, $400, $500, sometimes even more. This is one of those things where RSD got it right. Scarlett Johansson, Anywhere I Lay My Head. This is a beautiful record from, yes, the same Scarlett Johansson who is the actress that you all know and probably love. What you might not know is that she's an amazing musician, and her albums are beautiful. This one in particular is special. It was supposed to come out for RSD this year, and it got pushed, canceled. I wasn't sure if it was going to come out, but I know that first presses of it were going for quite a bit of money. I'm really glad that now there's an opportunity for everybody to get a chance to own this. Noah Kahan, Town Hall, Stick Season collaborations. Now, many of you know Noah Kahan is not my cup of tea, but I know he is widely beloved by so many people in the music and vinyl community. This is a bunch of collaborations he did, and it's all compiled onto one album. This is definitely going to be something that people are going to be scrambling for. I don't know if this is going to be something that you should fork up money in the aftermarket for, because Noah Kahan rubbed me the wrong way with RSD this year. He put out his debut record, and it was an RSD exclusive, and I was excited as a store. I ordered a handful of them for the shop because I was like, oh, locals will be stoked to get this. And on the morning of RSD, his camp announced that they were going to be doing a different variant that was available for pre-order right on his site on the morning of RSD. This felt like a huge slap in the face to record stores who were trying to get something to get people in the door and get locals excited when locals have the opportunity to just purchase online for the same price and get a different variant. It just rubs me the wrong way. So I would be careful that Noah Kahan's team, which seems to be a little money hungry in that sense, is not going to do this again and put up a variant of this right around RSD Black Friday or not too long after. I almost put this one in the ugly, but I put it in the good because there's enough fans that are going to be excited about this. MF Doom Operation Doomsday 25th anniversary. Guys, you know I love MF Doom. There's a ton of stuff in this cabinet right here behind me. Operation Doomsday is an incredible record. The debut album of the villain himself, post-KMD days. And this album has a bunch of variants and different cover variants over the course of many years. However, it's nice to have more in the market. I don't think there's been an accessible colored variant of this for a little while, and I believe they're doing both of the covers, the alt version and the classic version, and each one has its own variant to match. So super cool for Doom fans who missed out on some of the early, colored versions of it. They now have a chance to get it. Modest Mouse, Baron Von Bullshit rides again. This is something that I've always wanted on vinyl. It is a live set from Modest Mouse featuring some of my all-time favorite songs from their catalog. Really good performance, and like I said, it's never been on vinyl. There is a lathe cut that exists. I saw it on Discogs today, and apparently someone at one point paid $500 for it, which is insane, because you can make your own, but people be crazy. This is a really cool thing that actually should be on vinyl, and finally now will be. Morphine, B-sides and otherwise. Morphine, everyone's favorite alt-rock sax forward band, is a really interesting act that most of their records tend to go for pretty big money. They tend to go out of print as soon as they come in print, and there's always high demand. People come in my shop asking for Morphine all the time, so it's really cool to get this B-sides compilation. I think this is going to be a hot ticket item for sure. And then another big repress, we have Thievery Corporation, The Richest Man in Babylon. Thievery Corporation is one of the best dub-heavy trip-hop acts of all time. All of their albums are fantastic, and Richest Man in Babylon is definitely one of their most beloved. The original comes on 4 discs, and the repress came on 2, and both of them go for hundreds of dollars. They're super out of print. You can't really access them, but now that's changing because you'll be able to access the 2-disc version as a repress on colored vinyl. Again, this is what RSD should be doing, this kind of stuff. And if you're local and you were interested in that original 4-disc album, we are going to put one of those out for Black Friday too, so make sure you come by for that. All right, let's talk about the bad. Earl Sweatshirt, Feet of Clay, 5th anniversary. First of all, is this an album that really needs a 5th anniversary? Like, Earl Sweatshirt's fine. I'm not a huge fan. I like some stuff. I don't like some stuff. I feel like this album wasn't massively celebrated as like a high point in his catalog, and you could also find early copies of both the black and the colored variant for dirt cheap, like under $20. So why are we clogging up the pressing plants with this record? Like, it just doesn't make sense. And here's 2 things that I thought were a really interesting and weird trend. Explosions in the Sky, Lone Survivor soundtrack. Now, I love Explosions in the Sky. They are one of my favorite post-rock outfits. No one does atmospheric rise and fall rock the way that they do. They're really in their own lane within a genre where a lot of things can sound similar. They rise above. And this release of theirs, this soundtrack, is one of the low points in their catalog. It is not memorable to me. It is just kind of generic and boring compared to what they've done on so many other projects. Like, take the Friday Night Lights soundtrack in comparison to this. It's like night and day. This release was an RSD release. I think it was a Black Friday release years ago, and I remember it retailed for like $35-40, and you can find it regularly for under $20. It's one of those releases that just immediately depreciated. It was sitting in bargain bins forever, and is still available at that bargain price. So naturally, RSD is like, let's do another run of it. And I'm sure it's going to cost $35-40 again, if not more. It feels like you're insulting the consumer. And let's do this one more time with the Rage Against the Machine release from this list. The DNC 2000 Performance, this was a release that is fairly accessible as well. You can get it for not that much money, I think under $30. And it was a record store day release from years ago. They're deciding to release it again. But why? It seems weird to take something that didn't, it'd be one thing if this became a holy grail from that record store day and like it was like $100 and they were like, let's do another run of it to give people another chance. That's one thing. But when it's already accessible at a price that's probably going to be cheaper than MSRP, why are we wasting anyone's time with this? And let's talk about the ugly. The ugly is an interesting category this time, and you're going to see why. Steve Martin King Tut. Obviously, I love Steve Martin. Amazing, iconic comedian. I don't really personally love comedy on vinyl. I'd rather stream it. Like, what's the point of it? I don't understand why you would take the time to spin a comedy record. If you do, that's totally on you, and do your own thing. But for me, there's not going to be any like fidelity or experience that's enhanced from just throwing an album on streaming, other than that you have to interrupt the comedy set by flipping the record, which seems stupid. This is like a 7-inch that you can get for pennies on the dollar. It's like super cheap, and they decided to do a 12-inch of it. It just seems like something that's clogging up the plant. I don't know who the target audience for this is. I guess giant Steve Martin fans that are memorabilia collectors. But again, it just seems like a weird thing to do. And the next two things are things I'm actually fairly excited about, but I'm putting them in the ugly because they feel ugly in the context of their release. The first is Pearl Jam. Yeah, I know. Talk about the band that I have the signed box set right there. Pearl Jam is releasing a 12-inch single of Waiting for Stevie and Wreckage, both live performances from their recent tour. Those are great songs, and I think this is a cool release in theory. My concern is that there's a little bit of gouging happening. With Pearl Jam Dark Matter, their most recent release, they put out like 12 different variants, which was overwhelming and crazy. Pearl Jam seems to love their merch, as I know as a fan, and I feel like these two songs, while I would like to have live versions of them, of course, are going to be represented on a future live album or a future live vault or something down the road that's going to make me basically have to buy this experience twice. I know they're going to do some kind of Dark Matter live album, or they're going to do something that's going to encompass these tracks. So why would I just want the 2 tracks when I can have an entire set down the road that includes these tracks? It just feels like a cash grab, and people are going to feel stupid when in a year from now there's a full live record that has those songs, and you're like, well, what's the point of this 12-inch now? At what point am I going to want to just put these 2 on versus listen to the live show? So it just feels like a bit of a cash grab. And then we have Stone Temple Pilot Purple Rarities. I love Purple. It is one of my favorite grungy alt-rock records. Brilliant. And these songs first came out on the Purple Super Deluxe that came out a few years back. This was like a thick book that had the record and then a bunch of CDs inside. And the packaging was beautiful, but all of the extra ancillary material that I was interested in were on CDs. They should have been on vinyl, or at least had an option for vinyl so that I could have purchased the Super Deluxe that had all the things I wanted. Instead, you're stuck getting just what was already available, which was the album, and a bunch of CDs, which many people, including myself, have no use for. Now they're releasing the Purple Rarities on vinyl as a separate release, which means that, like, how many times do you have to dip as a Stone Temple Pilots fan to get this material? Like, if you bought the Super Deluxe, but you were hoping that you had the material on vinyl, and now it's like they're releasing it on vinyl now, it's like, it just feels so predatory, seems aggressive, but it just feels like a way to not respect the fans' dollar. And while I am interested in this release, and I think it's good to be on vinyl, I think the way that they're doing it is indicative of a larger issue in the industry that I've talked about in previous videos, about kind of taking advantage of people with so many variants, so many, deluxe editions coming out after you buy the first edition. It feels like a bad trend that I don't like to support. So those are my initial thoughts on the RSD list. I think we're going to carry a few of the titles in the shop, but ultimately for Record Store Day, Black Friday, what I like to do is do a sale in the store and put out some really rare stuff that's really cool, that's used and unexpected for locals to grab. Like, we do an entire refresh of our rare wall for Black Friday, which is 75 titles. Right now, I know we have some insane stuff that we'll be teasing as it gets closer to Black Friday. So that's the focal point for me. The RSD titles, not so much. I mean, if you want some of the stuff, I might have some of it, but ultimately, the list is a little hit or miss, as they always tend to be. But I will say this, I am excited that they are doing some of those big name things, the Millennium, the Thievery Corporation, Better Than Ezra. These are records that actually deserve to be a part of RSD, and this should be what RSD is more about, those types of releases. Not Steve Martin 12 inches and Beatles reissues and 3-inch records, and it starts to feel a little cheap and cheesy when it's so many releases that are unnecessary and duplicates of things that already exist for cheaper. So tell me if you agree with any of my thoughts on RSD. Tell me what you think about the list. Leave a comment below and I'll be sure to let you know what I think to your thoughts. So thank you all for watching my analysis of the Record Store Day Black Friday 2024 list. More videos coming soon. Take it easy.